Hey, y'all, we are live, and today we are pleased to have Adam from Carnivore today.
How you
And
doing?
we just wanted to have Adam on, maybe ask him some questions. Adam, how long have you been carnivore?
I've been carnivore for approximately 9 months.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's great.
And
Yep.
for those of you who don't know, let's just let Adam shout out all of his. I know you have a really awesome YouTube channel, a lot of really great interviews on there, and you do a lot of different things. So we'll let you shout out your different things real quick here.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. My name's Adam Lacey. I am the host of Carnivore Today YouTube channel. I also have a website, carnivoretoday.com, that's currently being built. It's open to the public, but there's not a ton of content on there right now. But the main overall arching purpose of the channel is to reach as many people as we possibly can with this message of beef, salt, and water, and the healing benefits that there is to have. I mean, it's astounding to me, and I couldn't shut up about it. So that's why we started the channel and started the website. And while we're doing interviews like this, we need to try to help as many people as we can.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating. And what's very interesting for me is I continue to get more and more guys at work that want to jump on the carnivore train. And then the other interesting thing, a little anecdotal story for you. Yesterday, and we talk about it a lot, and we have this YouTube channel. So yesterday, my boss comes in and he was like, he's talking all about Jordan Peterson, and he's like, I'm going carnivore for a week. Jordan Peterson's been doing all this, and I'm like, yeah, I've been carnivore for like 120 days. And he's like, oh, really? So he started, and I'm like, where have you been, dude? But anyway, so it's him and one of my other coworkers. And my other coworker is a pretty good friend of mine. And I've been trying to encourage him because he works out a lot and he's a big dude and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to encourage him to go carnivore. So what I did is I said, look, before I went carnivore, I had all these arthritic shoulder problems, had it scoped out. It's really bad and all this stuff. Right. And I said, before I did that, I could not do one push-up. So all I did is I got down in the push-up position and I started doing push-ups while I'm talking to him, and I cranked out like 40 push-ups. And I'm like, I could not do one before. And I was incredibly active before all the arthritis stuff. And my one buddy's like, I'm doing it for the next 60 days. He's like, you're my accountability partner, and I'm doing it. And he literally just texted me a picture of his dinner.
Oh, good.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's what's so awesome about the community. One is whether you want to explain it or not explain it as these holistic healing beneficial properties of this diet, and people try to want to explain it like, oh, it's because it's an elimination diet. Well, I don't think, I mean, it's not that bizarre and weird and spooky that I think that we need to I know certain people need that it's because it's the way their thought process and the way their brain works is they want to know how and why. But I'm just like, if you just try it for 30 days, I'm relatively thoroughly convinced that it will have a dramatic positive impact on your life. And it's a little bit easier for me because I had none of the detox symptoms. I didn't get any barrier. So it made it really, and in addition to that, I had like incredible just physical improvement that, that's why I am a cheerleader, and I want to at least get this information out there for people. We live in an incredibly sick world. And prior to this, we were eating whole foods and we were eating clean and we were eating relatively mostly organic and all these different things and still didn't feel well.
Right.
And that's why people are so sick and ill and obese. It's just like, hey, look, it's this simple. It's so simple
Right.
It's so easy. And
For sure.
I mean, it's not
sure.
this.
Right. So what type of diet or how are you eating before you came to carnivore?
Mostly vegan.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
not really. It was by choice, but it was because my business partner contracted cancer, and he went on a special protocol that a friend of his had cancer 22 years ago and went on this protocol and kicked cancer's butt and still hanging around. So he started this regimen because this guy's still around, and so as a show of solidarity, I decided I'm going to try to do this diet with him. And yeah, so that's why I was eating that way. But prior to that, it was basically standard American diet, anything goes, seafood
So you
diet.
were eating vegan for about how long before?
Almost 2 years, I would say, pretty close.
Almost 2 years. Okay. So
Yeah.
in that time, now you had a lot of health issues that were going on before you switched over to carnivore. So that 2 years of eating vegan did not help your health issues that you came to carnivore for.
No. I would say that it more than likely made things worse, especially for the autoimmune condition that I have, vitiligo. I believe that I can't prove it, but I do believe that it made that condition worse, which is patches of your skin don't actually produce melanin, so it's white. And me being tan, it's much more pronounced and noticeable. So I can tell, when these things pop up and if they're getting worse and things like that. So it was definitely getting worse on a vegan diet. And let me tell you, when I do something, I go all out. So when I went this vegan thing, I'm like, you do the research. Oh, you need to pulverize your vegetables and the Vitamix blender and all this stuff. And I'm putting like loads of spinach in this thing, Of course, I had to throw some pears and some apples in there just to swallow it as you get it down. But but I'm putting in so much spinach, and I didn't realize at the time, I was likely poisoning myself with all those oxalates. And I did suffer those consequences once I started to essentially detox from the vegan diet. So yeah, it definitely, I feel like it did make my health worse over those 2 years.
So what were some of the other things that you were experiencing before, health-wise, before you came to carnivore?
I had a traumatic brain injury in 2017. So I
Okay.
lost about 10% brain function from a car crash, and it had improved maybe 4%, 5%, something like that. But it was still, I had some cognitive issues, balance issues, vertigo-like symptoms. Couldn't close my eyes at night without having head jerks and twitches and things like that. So I had that going on. And when I started carnivore, I had severe plantar fasciitis. It was so bad that I couldn't stand for more than 30 minutes at a time. And then I'd have to sit down for probably 2 hour period before I could actually stand up again. So that was pretty debilitating. Bought, these shoes that cost like $200-300 a pair. And of course, you got to have one for hiking and one for working and one for walking. And so just special boots to wear at night and things like this. And that was pretty debilitating with that issue. Obviously had brain fog, just like everybody else. You don't know you have it until you go carnivore.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's exactly. Yeah.
So what was it? How did you find carnivore? Did you find Dr. Barry or?
I found carnivore I was actually, so in November of last year, so around Thanksgiving, I decided, you know what? I'm tired of being fat. I'm tired of losing my breath and can't breathe when I go to tie my shoes. And I need to get rid of this once and for all. So I started intermittent fasting, which is essentially a starvation diet, and it was working. And up until around February 1st, I was still eating that vegan, and intermittent fasting, and it was working to help lose some weight and stuff. But then I noticed those spots for vitiligo popping up on my arm. And I thought, you know what? I need to see if there's a solution to this. I never was one to go to the doctor for anything. You know, I'm always autodidactic. I try to solve my own issues and problems. Just bad experiences with doctors in the past. So I started doing some research on that condition, and I found Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan claimed that he has the same skin condition, and that he believed that after 30 days, it started to reverse on a carnivore diet. And I thought, well, what the heck is a carnivore diet? Like, I had no idea at that point, you know, because I'm eating grass like a freaking cow, you know. So, so it's the most foreign thing to me, and it was very crazy. So I started doing some research into that. I found Dante from Ferrigno Freedom, like Carrie did, and then soon after that, I found Dr. Barry, and that was it. You know, once I connected with him, and I went into the rabbit hole of hundreds of videos with Dr. Barry, and that was it. I just made a decision. I'm not one to go slowly in anything. I'm like, I need to try to solve this, and it's beef, butter, bacon, and eggs for me. So,
so you started with beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, and then how has that progressed? What does it look like today? What do you usually eat?
Same thing.
How many meals do you usually eat in a day? Do you do 3 meals or?
When I first started, it was about 2 meals a day. And then once I really got going, it went to 1 meal a day. And then after, I'd say I probably got 95% of the way, the hunger started like really getting on the increase and on the rise. So I'm basically at my target weight now, and I'm back to eating twice a day. But the meals are larger than they were before.
Okay. Cool. And you're still doing beef, butter, bacon, and eggs.
Yep.
Basically that is okay. All right. So strict carnivore.
And now what we were dairy free when we started carnivore. So we added back in butter, and what butter did for me is it gave me post-nasal drip. It was affecting my inflammation. So I had like superhuman results when I started on carnivore. For like after the first couple of days, my energy and everything. I've had allergies my whole entire life. I've always taken some type of allergy medicine daily. And if I didn't, what would happen is I get a sinus infection and I'd crash and burn for 3 days. I completely stopped taking allergy medicine, and my energy level was from 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, wake up, go till like 8 to 10 o'clock at night. And the weird thing was, it's like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, I feel great, but I know that I have to sleep. So I would go to bed, immediately crash, sleep great, wake up. But we wanted to up the fat. We added back in the butter, but I had an inflammation response to it. Yeah. And I started feeling tired again. And I'm like, man, this is so weird. I don't know what's doing this. And normally what I used to do is I would do a large coffee in the morning with 4 or 5 raw eggs, tallow, and a teaspoon of honey. And so I added in the butter. And when I added in the butter one morning, I was just paying attention. I'm drinking my coffee, and then I'm like, wait a minute. I could, I could feel like the post nasal drip, and I'm like, that's crazy, because I've been doing coffee and raw eggs for decades. Yeah. And I'm like, the only new thing is the butter. It's got to be the butter. I took the butter out, boom. It was like right back to like no inflammation, no sinus, anything. And it was pretty incredible. Yeah. So I
have the post nasal drip now, and my vitiligo reversing has slowed and basically come to a stop. It did start reversing, which is incredible. Wow. Just like Rogan. I'm like, how in the world is this even happening? Because modern medicine says, hey, that's it, man. It's probably going to get worse, and that's where it is. But I have the post nasal drip, and I thought maybe if I went on the lion diet, push it to that next level. And if that didn't work, start working in some intermittent fasting. Yeah. Maybe that would help to reverse that, to get that mitochondria to replace itself with new ones, and see where that goes. So yeah, I'll probably experiment with that. I did try to experiment with making ghee, to just to see what that would do.
Yeah.
And I didn't notice a huge difference really with it, aside from the flavor, and the cooking. But
Right.
And the other thing that I do is now, if I do have coffee in the morning, which I usually don't now, I don't eat until I come home from work. So my eating window is like 4 or 5 o'clock till 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
And so usually when I come home, I'll have my coffee with raw eggs. That gives me a couple hours for whatever is being cooked for dinner. And then I have my dinner and I'm good to go. So I got a small eating window and I've just really benefited. I feel really good, really high energy and don't feel hungry. I mean, I think that's the big thing. With anybody that tries the intermittent fast, I always say, look, if you feel good while you're doing it, do it. If you feel hungry, I wouldn't recommend you do it because that's where everybody loses on carnivore, because if you're hungry, you're going to eat some trash because it's around us everywhere and you're going to cave. You're just going to eat trash. So it's far better to at least stay satiated. Right. And then you don't have to worry about eating garbage.
So do you put tallow in the coffee too? You do raw eggs and tallow?
Yeah, raw eggs and tallow.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So I do tallow in mine. I mean, it's just a way for me to increase my fat. I would like to cut out the coffee, and I've done it for like a day here and there, but then I'm like, I'm just happier with some coffee.
Right. Yeah, I was able to actually kick the coffee habit. I took Dr. Chafee's cue on that, and it was basically just replace coffee with a caffeine pill. So if you drink 2 coffees a day or 3 coffees a day, just take 2 or 3 of those pills and then gradually just reduce the amount that you're taking of those. And I'm plant free. So
that's a good idea. Yeah. Because I know Dr. Chafee was saying too, that just sometimes the allergens that are in the coffee, just mold and just different things that can be in the coffee that we don't know,
we do drink very high quality coffee, and you can find it at our website at the
Nice. I love it. I have to try some. You're going to get me hooked again.
No, you kicked it. You kicked it. Stick with your pills.
No, everybody that's still drinking, not you.
No.
That's funny.
Judy, I would try cutting out the butter. And maybe Judy says that she has postnasal drip.
I think the really cool thing about this is that everybody's different, and then you can play with it and just test different things. Like, like you're doing the caffeine pill, and like I would like to try that and to see, would that just be enough to just get me through the day? And then, that's interesting.
Yeah, his philosophy is you're not getting all the other plant anti nutrients or whatever that's in the coffee. You're just getting the caffeine boost, and you're not ingesting all the rest of the stuff. So over a period of a couple of weeks, I was able to just eliminate the caffeine pills, and I'm good to go at this point. So, but on the intermittent fasting point that I was talking about earlier, the only reason that I personally am going to try that is because I have this autoimmune condition. So I wouldn't recommend it at all, because it's almost like torture. When you're on a carnivore diet and you have your body's gotten used to eating the fat, I would always recommend to just listen to your body. If you're hungry, eat. If you're not, then don't eat. But I have a specific case where I'm actually going to try to do that in order to try to reverse this condition. So
yes,
sure, yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I like about the carnivore diet is the same thing that a lot of carnivores talk about, is the control factor, and it's the same thing with intermittent fasting. And even with preparedness and what have you, what I think is a tool with intermittent fasting is, we've been programmed that we need to eat 3 square meals a day and all these different things. And nobody in history has ever done that. Very few cultures do that. And I think there's other value in intermittent fasting, of whether it was like, if you had a reduced food source and you only had access to so much, I think it's kind of good to try that, just to have it as a tool in your tool belt, whether it's to eliminate some type of disease or just to reinforce the discipline that you do have. And I've had a lot of mental clarity. I've just had a lot. It seems like it's a great way to boost mental clarity. And yeah, that's the main reason why I implement it, because it keeps me on my toes.
Yeah.
Keeps me mentally clear.
So you do something really fun once a week called the Keto Cookout. And you have a couple different people that join in, and then you have special guests come in every week, and it's just really a lot of fun. So I wanted to go ahead and shout that out, because if anybody here has not joined in, just pop on over there once a week. It's Alia and Adam's over there, and
Russ Mitchell, homesick Buckeye.
Yes, he's over there. And it's just a lot of fun. And if you're kind of like, you've watched a lot of intense carnivore videos and you're ready for something a little lighter, it's a fun hangout. And the forum, like the whole setup is just really neat and just real creative and just casual. I just love it. So
we appreciate that for sure.
Yeah. And you get to meet a lot of other carnivore people that just pop on as guests and get to share different little things. And it's just really fun. So yeah, go check that out for anybody who's watching this and hasn't joined the Keto Cookout every week.
Kayla, do you think for healing things like cancer, the plant-based diet or juicing is better for carnivore?
I would do the carnivore, and I would follow, you're going to help me out with the name here. Who's the doctor, the cancer doctor?
Professor Seifried?
Seifried, yes. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, the big thing with carnivore is ketogenesis and also the lack of sugars, which everybody knows feeds the cancer. So the carnivore diet, you can manipulate your ketogenic state to be basically however you want it to be. And so you can stay in ketosis and it will starve the cancer.
And you can check out Dr. Barry.
I'm not a doctor.
Dr. Barry's done some interviews with Thomas Seifried, and as well as Dr. Chafee's done some videos with him. And I know someone had just asked Dr. Chafee that same question on one of his lives, and he said, just go devour everything that Dr. Seifried says. And he has a protocol to be on special for cancer and all of that. So that's definitely what I would do.
For sure. Yeah. And understanding that both are elimination diets, but only one of them still contains sugar. So plants, that's how they operate. That's how they thrive. And that's how they grow, is through sugars within the plant. So yeah, that's definitely something that I would want to avoid if I had cancer.
Yeah. And the beauty of the meat base is you're eating a nutrient dense food source that is absolutely void of sugar, and you're still getting like optimum ARC nutrition. So not only are you starving the cancer, but you're feeding, it is the exact opposite of chemotherapy. You know what I mean? You're starving the cancer and you're feeding your body with optimum nutrition. Carrie from Homestead How has that fella with stage 4 colon cancer.
Yes.
To Prosperous.
And he's doing the protocol too.
And he's doing the carnivore protocol, and he's currently in chemo and everything. And they gave him like 6 weeks to live. And I think he's 2 years out from that prognosis or something like that. And he's fighting back, guns a-blazing, and he's doing great. And he's sharing his story. It's, I forget the name of his channel.
Blessings on My Journey.
Blessings on My Journey. Yeah. But yeah, it's very inspiring and fascinating, and and what a resource that you can point somebody to, because everybody bumps into this cancer thing.
Yeah. Well, like you were just saying, your coworker, and we experienced that about 5 years ago, and we did Gerson therapy, which is a lot of juicing. It's green juice, and then it's apple juice and carrot juice, and it's very intensive, and it's a full-time job, just the juicing every 2 hours. full-time job aside from all the
Mhm.
other things you have to do, and the diet is extremely restrictive, and I can just attest that carnivore is much easier than that. That is a lot of
Yeah.
work. I had sores, not that everybody would, but I had sores in my mouth so bad from the juice.
Yeah, she didn't feel
Um,
healthy on.
yeah. I mean, I felt better than I would eating, donuts or something like that from the coffee
Mhm.
shop. But my mouth I was just sores like constant in my mouth so bad that I could barely talk. And it had to be the juice. I mean, that's
Yeah, it was probably the oxalates because it's like highly concentrated levels of plant toxins and oxalates.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did want to thank the carnivore cure for the super chat. So thank you
Oh,
very
yeah.
much. We
Thanks,
appreciate
Todd. That's
it. Thanks,
awesome.
buddy.
So, do you want to talk a little bit about the documentary and where y'all are
Yeah,
at?
what's this
and-
carnivore documentary? What's this all about?
So, yeah, we're trying to put together a carnivore diet documentary, yet to be named. So we're still working on that. We do have things currently in the works with some individuals that we can't disclose at this point, but we promise that we're going to have a really good name for this. It's going to somewhat spark a little controversy, make a little bit of a claim. It's not going to be very off-putting. So that's sort of what we got in the works right now in terms of the next stage of things to move the carnivoredietmovie.com web address to the actual name of the documentary itself. So that's very exciting. And our goal is to get this on as many streaming channels as we can: Netflix, Hulu, Angel Studios, a lot of these different streaming services to try to spread this message to as many people as we possibly can, millions, tens of millions if we can, because there's only a limited scope on YouTube. Not everybody uses YouTube. Now, if we don't get on the streaming channels, then we can still leverage, channels, hopefully such as yours and Dr. Berry's and Dr. Baker's and Dr. Chafee's to spread this message. All of which those doctors are going to be in the documentary as specialists, along with a few others, Dr. Hampton, Dr. Ovadia. We're just incredibly blessed to have so many great doctors and minds involved in this process to help heal everybody from this metabolic disease that everybody has in this country and in the world. So yeah, that's really exciting. That's some of the things that we got going on. We're getting ready to go film Maggie, the 82-year-old carnivore in Canada, on her ranch.
That's awesome. That's
So-
awesome.
Story.
Yeah, here's the thing with that. So Carrie texted me the other day and he said, "Can you swing a hammer?" I said, I'm thinking, what? Why are you asking me if I can swing a hammer? So he says, well, Maggie wants to know if we can swing a hammer or not. So apparently she's got a lot of things that needs to be done before they make a move, and a lot of like chicken coops that need built and fences need mending. And so we think we're filming a documentary, but I think she sees fresh meat from the United States.
Yeah, you guys got a barter. Sounds like you got a barter going on today.
Right.
There you
right.
go. Got some
Yeah.
work to do.
Yeah, for sure. So
That is cool.
hopefully we get a lot of cool
story.
shots of action shots of her working on the ranch, and get some good content material for the aging segment of the documentary. It's just incredible how fit this lady is, and she literally doesn't look like she's out of her 50s, early 50s. And she's 82.
It is.
Yeah.
And I was talking a little bit to Ali about this the other day, but the impact that a healthy mom or a healthy grandma or just a healthy family member has on that next generation, not just your physical health, but your mental health. When you feel good and you're happier, you're just more engaged in life, and we're I don't know. I just don't think we can say enough, just how much of an impact that's going to make on these kids that are coming up in this next generation. I mean, instead of having a mom that's, overweight, or a grandmom that's overweight, sick, depressed, sitting on the couch, I mean, to have the opposite of that. I don't know what the implications of that is going to be. We see it in our family, just with me and my husband, and we're in our 40s, but we felt like way aged beyond our years.
And, we were doing all the things that the mainstream, I mean, we were not remotely eating the standard American diet.
We were highly plant-based. We were whole foods. We have been for years. We detoured for a few years and went more plant-based when, I had the cancer scare, and we got crazy into juicing and smoothies and all that. But we were very cognizant of every single thing that went into our mouth, and for our kids too. And yet we were not really doing that well at all.
Yeah, my body was falling apart, and it's just like, and I just chalked it up to old age. I'm like, wow, I guess this is what getting old is like. Man, this is terrible. Like,
yeah, I did the same thing. I hit 45, and it's like, man, I guess this is just where it starts going south. You start getting age spots, and you can't hardly get up off the couch, and you just start feeling like crap, and you complain all day, and you talk to your friends about your doctor visits.
Yeah.
So, Adam, how much weight did you lose on carnivore?
I lost on the scale. I lost 70 pounds, but I believe I've gained around 10 to 12 pounds of muscle. So
that's awesome.
Sure. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you've been carnivore 9 months. How long did it take you to lose the weight?
Did it start 5 months?
5 months.
About 5 months. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. So now it's just been body composition, just, getting rid of that last tiny little bit around the waist and filling out with muscle. So, yeah, I mean, this is phenomenal. I mean, I've done so many diets in the past, and, Atkins and all kinds of crazy stuff, Weight Watchers, and literally you go right back. It's just up and down, up and down, up and down. And this is the first time that I feel like I'm absolutely in 1000% control of my health, my weight, and I will never, ever go back to being fat and unhealthy again.
Well, it's fascinating that exclusively, I mean, all the carnivores that you watch and you listen to their story, they all start exercising because you have excess energy, right? So you're like, instead, before it was just like, okay, gotta suck it up and exercise. I think I'm gonna smack down an organic energy drink, so that I can suck myself up to exercise. And now you're like, I kind of have to exercise because I know that's it. I know when people that haven't experienced are gonna be like, that is hokey, but I'm telling you, you have the extra energy and you're like, okay, cool. I want to exercise now because I feel good. I don't feel tired.
And mentally you feel good.
Right.
Mentally, the fog is gone. Like you said, your ability to think, and, you're feeling better. Your mood is better. You're outside more by default. I mean, I just barely never went outside. And if I did go outside, we live on a farm, I would just see all the projects. And I'd be like, never mind. I'm just going back inside. It's just too much to even look at, and it's a vicious circle. It just goes around and around, So
it's just like the yo-yo diet stuff. It's the same thing, like tweak it. And, just never. And it's so simple and basic. And it's very fascinating.
Well, Alia said on their last one, she said, we're boring over here. We just eat very boring.
Right.
Well, it works, I mean, so, you can make it as, complex as you want to. If you want to eat 10 different types of meat and do all kinds of really cool recipes with it, and you can do that. Or you can just have beef and salt and water, and you'll just as good. So
at least for me, it was a godsend. Like this way of eating I don't like complex things. I like, with eating, I think it's a hassle and a nuisance to even have to eat. So if I
Sam.
can spend the least amount of time doing that, oh man,
Yes.
that's incredible. So I don't really care what it is, as long as it tastes
Mhm.
good. And
Mhm.
honestly, if I ate the same chuck steak every single day for the rest of my life, I would feel like I'm eating like a king because
Oh,
of
Yeah.
how I feel. I mean, it's just,
yeah,
I feel like a
yeah,
superhero. It's insane. I'm not here
yeah,
selling anything. I'm just telling
Mhm.
people, don't shop from this section of the grocery. Shop from
Mhm.
this section. That's it.
yeah.
Mhm. That's it. Yeah. It's so simple.
And it's so fascinating, and it's so if immediately effective, like within 30 to 60 days. I tell everybody, try for 30 days. I said, I promise you, if you do it for 30 days, one, you're going to be amazed.
Mhm.
Two, you're like, wow, it's really that's the weird thing that people, well, most people overthink it, everything anyway. But and the other thing is they're overthinking it with brain fog and they don't realize that. So once they have mental clarity, then it'll make more sense. But but you know, because it's always like, are you gonna eat this way forever? I'm like, wow,
Yep.
you really,
Yep.
yeah, you're really,
Right. It's like,
I
don't
just
think about
I
that.
said
Just
try it for
do it
30
for
days.
today. Just eat that way for
Mhm.
today, you
And
know?
I had Simi and I had my buddy from who's they're immigrating to the United States, but they were formerly the Swedish homestead. He's a YouTuber, and I did, unbeknownst to us, he went carnivore, and I had him on our podcast, and it was great. And he said the one thing, and I had never heard this quote. I think he said it was Michaela Peterson, and she said, nothing tastes as good as feeling healthy feels. And I was just
Mhm.
like, that is absolutely it. You know what I mean? It's like
Absolutely.
when you feel this great,
Right.
like it's very easy to like, yeah, I don't need a piece of cake. Like I
Right.
feel so good. Why would I want to destroy the way the health and the vitality and my ability to get stuff done?
Mhm.
Why would I want to sacrifice that for a piece of cake? That's not even a good
Absolutely.
piece.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, 2 weeks in, I was feeling like a superhero, even though I was, 70 pounds overweight at that point.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I mean, and you hear stories of people reversing type 2 diabetes,
Mhm.
Carnivore Kip right now. So he was
Yeah,
500 pounds, right? And he completely reversed his type 2 diabetes, and he's
incredible.
still considered obese. He's still 400
Sure.
pounds. So,
Mhm.
Wow,
it's
that's incredible.
why would you do this? Because
Mhm.
you just feel 1,000 times better than you ever have.
Absolutely. Yeah. So how about for your family or friends, or is anybody else like, how's everybody else's
Yeah,
reaction
great
to
question.
this?
My family is they're all in support of me doing it.
Good.
But nobody necessarily has jumped on board in my family yet. My son's one of them is eating probably 90% carnivore. The other one
Okay.
is he's kind of getting there. But
Uh-huh.
my wife has not been convinced of the fat factor yet. So eating all that
Uh-huh.
fat is still kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so I have a couple people that have reached out to me. One that had severe like Crohn's IBS issues,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
she's reached out to me in desperation, which I
Sure.
thought was insane. Like, why are you reaching out to me? I occasionally post about the carnivore diet, so she must have heard something somewhere, and she reached out to me, and she's currently eating a carnivore diet to help heal that issue, and things are going better for her. Another one that
Nice.
had IBS symptoms, he's completely eliminated that after having IBS pain for over 2 years. Young guy, he's 19, so
Okay.
that's going good. His mother just started, and she was on a weight loss stall for a long time with the ketogenic diet. And she started carnivore, and a weekend she's like, I dropped 5 pounds and I feel great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I
yeah.
mean, IBS is so epidemic. Like you don't even know people, people obviously don't go around telling everybody they have IBS, but I bet you it's like over 60% of the population. Because if I just count the people that I know that have said that they have IBS or chronic IBS,
Mhm.
and I
Mhm.
drop it into a group of 10, I'm like, wow, that's like
Yeah.
80%.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, some issues with the way that our diet is, it's just,
Yeah.
And to
Reckon
just
it
do
with all the
something as
processed foods and the fiber. It's just horrible
yeah,
for us.
and
yeah.
something so simple. It's such a simple thing, That's what's so weird with all the vegan, vegetarian stuff. Oh, well, you need to get all of these vegetables and then you need to redact them or reduce them. And then you, of course, you need all these supplements and all this stuff.
We
And
had
it's
it
just
all.
like,
We did it all.
it certainly
Yeah.
isn't sustainable.
Yeah.
And that's the other weird thing. Nobody ever says, are you going to eat that way the rest of your life?
No, 'cause yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What convinced me with the vegetarian thing and just eating vegetables in general. I mean, if you think about it, like where I live in Ohio, there's no way that 90% of our population would die because there's
Yeah.
just no food for 5 months of the year. So
Yeah.
I mean, it just it doesn't, without big ag and these
Yeah.
large companies pumping in food and these food products, people wouldn't live in these northern climates if we had to sustain ourselves on plants. It just wouldn't happen. So
That's right. Yeah. You're totally dependent. You're dependent on the 50-pound bags of oats and beans and quinoa, and you're dependent on, you better supplement if you want to stay, healthy with your minerals and your vitamins and everything. And, so you have to supplement your D and your K and, and we were a family of 8 doing it. And, it's, the protein
Wow.
powders and,
It was a spaceship.
it's expensive. It is not, it's not a cheap way to eat. That's for sure. And it's complicated. Like,
Very complicated. And you don't feel good doing it. It's like wow. And then we switched it up. And the additional blessing for us is, we had been raising our own cows and we're like, well, we're gonna go to this meat-based thing and we found this awesome microprocessor. And that's another thing I think I want to get you and Carrie in touch with Texas Slim at the Beef Initiative. I'm not sure if you're aware of the Beef Initiative, but that's basically the backbone and the crux of the Beef Initiative and food intelligence. It's all about, because that Texas Slim, he had a massive internal injury. They gave him 6 weeks to live. And he went carnivore, and I don't know exactly how long ago that was, if carnivore was even a thing yet or not. And he healed himself of this internal injury. And so he started the Beef Initiative, and the entire premise of the Beef Initiative is putting beef farmers in direct contact with their end consumer,
right.
in regionally, so
It's nationwide.
He started out with 2 ranchers, and now I think there's at least 150 or 180 ranchers all around the U.S. They're planning on taking it international, but the entire premise and backbone is all about the carnivore diet, basically.
Right. Well, I mean, it's food sovereignty.
Wow.
And like you said, when you're plant-based, how easy is it to starve out a population or just put everybody on limited, rations if everybody's converted over to this plant-based way of life and the beef industry is destroyed, which they're trying to do, little by little with propaganda. And it's like there's more to it than just our health is great. That's a great benefit. And, there's so many different things, but also this food sovereignty thing is like the bigger picture, of back, your power over your food.
And for us, how exciting, talk about, loving what you do and loving your job. How exciting is it when you know that you can raise this animal in a holistic way, the animal has a good life, and then you can offer this end product to somebody. And if they if they eat it properly, which means if they just eat that and nothing else, it'll heal them. And like, I mean, man, talk about an exciting business. So we're trying to scale and do all these different things to, but there's all of these big ag pressures,
right?
The meat market is so manipulated, and what the big ag does is they take all our U.S. grown cows and they ship them overseas, and they bring us the China meat, and we don't exactly know what's all involved and what's in there. And there's all this regulation, but there's no regulations regarding the labeling. We have no, and this is another premise and backbone of the beef initiative is grass-fed, U.S. grown, your rancher, the cow. And so exactly what you're eating, which is really awesome.
And I think the beauty of the carnivore diet is it's so simple that anybody, even if you cannot afford grass-fed, grass-finished beef or whatever, you can still go to the grocery store. You can vote with your dollars, and you can keep these local beef businesses. You can go to your butcher shop. You can, get fat trimmings. You can, you can do what you can where you're at, and it does make a big impact,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for anybody that says this is an expensive way of eating, I think they don't understand. They're still in the standard American diet mindset. I need to have all these snacks and my Starbucks and all this sort of thing. But when you're eating this way, you really have no desire to eat any of those things. Like my diet right now consists of 6 eggs for breakfast with some butter. And then for dinner, I usually have some kind of steak, whether it's a sirloin with butter or a ribeye or chuck steak that I've sous vide. And I mean, you could even do a pound of ground beef, pound and a half of ground beef. How much does that cost? 6 eggs is next to nothing. So, in a day, I could get away with $5 a day for an entire day of eating.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, and you've gotten all your nutrients that you could ever use. And you don't have, I'm fascinated. We were talking about this just on a previous, I think maybe our last live stream or 2 live streams ago. And I've always said this because we've always been health conscious, but the way that all of these, because a Starbucks just opened up in town, and then all of these, we moved here 10 years ago, and you can watch Main Street 10 years ago had 1/4 of these fast food restaurants on it.
Right.
There was no Schlotzsky's or Juicy's or Chicken Express. Right. I mean, none of those things were here just 10 years ago. And now in this little town, you have Murderer's Row, right? And you got Starbucks and your Chicken Express. And it's and this continues. Every town's the same, and they continue to build. These items become more and more expensive. Now these sandwiches are like 10 to 15. I mean, I work with guys, they'll drop $30 on lunch. And I'm not bragging or anything. I make the most money out of anybody that I know, right? And anybody I work with. And I'm like, I wouldn't spend $5 for lunch. Like I'm not. And not only that, it's crap.
Right.
For
well,
sure.
Like Adam said, if you eat a big, hearty breakfast, and then you can go and you're full until, a dinner time, early dinner time, whatever, and then eat a big satiating dinner. I mean, what more can you want? I mean, you're good, you're satisfied. And, for people that are just starting out carnivore, I think that is the big thing, not to try to do anything, push yourself to do anything, don't even focus on exercising or intermittent fasting or any, just that will come.
That's what's so cool
over time.
You don't have to do any of that stuff.
It will just naturally come.
So
if you agree with me, it just, you naturally fall into those patterns over time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's only just been recently for me that as soon as I wake up, I am like raving hungry. Like I have to eat like right then. But prior to, maybe a month or so ago, I could go literally almost all day with it. And sometimes I
Right.
would forget to even eat. I'm like, oh, I didn't even eat today. And I wasn't worried,
Right.
So,
Yeah. So, and it changes. And that's a good
mm-hmm,
testimony too, that it does change over time. So as you get
mm-hmm,
closer to your ideal body size and shape and composition, that your needs are going to change. I know
mm-hmm.
that Kelly Hogan said she eats 3 meals a day, and she's tiny. She's teeny tiny.
Right.
I mean, but she's like, I would never try intermittent fasting or anything because she just needs to eat. And, that's what she does. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I was going to ask you one more thing and I was trying to
You forget.
Oh, I know. I was going to say some tips with the fat thing because you were saying your wife can't get over the fat thing. So I've never been real big on eating the fat ever. Like I would cut all the fat off of my kids' meat and not make them eat it,
Like,
Yeah.
Right.
And he would, I'm like, oh, I just can't. But one thing is if you do ground beef and then you could add a couple slabs of butter onto it, that's a nicer fat to get started with. I was just trying to think of some things to share with you. Right? And tallow, there's no taste
Mm-hmm.
to it and it tastes really good. And I like refry my hamburgers in tallow and it's just a way to increase the fat.
Y'all, if you do drink coffee, I'm telling you, tallow, now you have to melt it. Tallow with an immersion blender in coffee.
Yeah.
I do the raw eggs and
Yeah.
people think I'm crazy.
And I tried the decaf coffee.
It's incredible.
But the decaf coffee gave me crazy migraines. So I don't know, it was something in the decaf. I was just like, and I don't get headaches or anything, but I did decaf for 2 days and I just had and it wasn't the withdrawal. It was like just crazy headaches. So I'm like, I'm not
just some guy wants us to assure his wife that she won't lose more weight. She absolutely won't. You kind of can't, when you're eating a nutrient dense diet, high in fat, it's impossible for you to lose more weight than you can because you're getting all your nutrients. So I definitely wouldn't worry about that.
As long as she's not under eating, as long as she's
eating. You have to eat enough. That's the biggest thing.
And she's probably going to gain muscle mass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go check out Sophia Eats Steak channel where she had the anorexia condition and she was underweight. So she's eating a carnivore diet to actually gain weight and it's working for her.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. Nutrient dense food. Your body is going to facilitate it and you're going to become the optimal you because you're not poisoning yourself and you're giving your body what it needs. Yeah.
And speaking of that, you did do a 24-hour live carnivore. I think it was like record breaking carnivore. And that's on your channel too. You can go check that out. Whoever's over here watching us right now. And there's so many people. Sophia's one of them on there. And just so many different people popped on within those 24 hours.
That's a blur for me. It was so, oh my goodness. I told Ollie, I said, whose idea was this? Okay, it wasn't mine. It was her idea. I want to think twice about saying yes to your ideas from now on. But it was a lot of fun and we raised a lot of money for the documentary and it was definitely well worth it for sure.
We're still catching up. We haven't seen the whole 24 hours yet. We just pop on every once in a while and we're just watching it and replaying, just touching people here and there. But how powerful for a young girl who had an eating disorder. And there's so many kids out there that, they're growing up with this just horrible nutrition, and just it's self-destructive, this vicious cycle that adults face. Kids are living that from the time that they're really little. And, it's just amazing that a young girl like that can just take control and be healthy, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
Iowa Homestead said,
testament. What's that?
Iowa Homestead said they started carnivore 2 weeks ago because of watching our channel, and he's down 10 pounds. So
awesome.
Check that out.
That's
Great
so
job.
Keep up
awesome.
the good work.
That's awesome.
That's right. So were there any challenges, Adam, that you faced with carnivore?
Was it all a panacea?
Any bumps in the road?
Well, Within the first 2 weeks, the issue of 1+1 in the laboratory was
Sure.
a little challenging, to say the least, because I'm a rip the Band-Aid off kind of a guy, and didn't do a bunch of research and didn't heed the advice of others that, all that fat intake all at once might lead to issues. And it definitely did. It was, I'm not going to go into it, but it's, I probably should have went a little slower, especially moving from a vegan diet to eating all meat. Oh my goodness. It was just, don't want to experience that again, but I'm glad that's done with and everything is normal now. So
oh, that's good. That's
good. That's the only challenge so far, literally. Eating out sometimes can be a little bit annoying just because of, all the garbage that's out there. But if you plan ahead, it's not bad.
It's really fascinating because when you change this diet, you see how, like I said, I mean, we were already a whole foods, organic type, crunchy kind of people. But when you switch to this diet, you see how more toxic food is, and the better you feel. And once all of your inflammation goes away, you see how sick the general population is. And it just becomes more obvious to you. And I think part of it is the brain fog, in my opinion.
Well, we're not so sick and not feeling well anymore. So like we feel good. So now when we go out to a normal like social event, like a homeschool group or something like that, and then you're just noticing how sick other people are, and it's just like, wow, this is really sad. Whereas before, I think we would have been like, oh, my back hurts. Like you'd be consumed in your own mind with your own stuff,
For sure.
So,
that's one of the reasons for the documentary is, it's socially not really acceptable to walk up to somebody that might be overweight or have some skin issues or whatever and be like, hey, man, I know what can help you. Somebody would probably take offense to something like that. So if we're able to get something like this documentary out in the mainstream and they discover it for themselves, hopefully we can kind of do an end around and go the other way and help them that way.
And anecdotally, the evidence, for one, it's so obvious, like even when it comes to the weight loss, and now you got these insane, like people are like injecting themselves with these new fat shots or whatever. Oh, it's so terrible. And doctors are prescribing this stuff. And this stuff is ultra poison. I forget the name of this shot, and it comes in like an insulin pen and it's got some crazy name. And this is a new prescription. And I forget, initially this medication was for, I don't know, it was probably rat poison or something like a lot of these other medications. But yeah, they found that a side effect is you lose weight. So people are on this new shot. Oh, it's so bad for you. And like, and it's just all part of that medical industrial complex and having a perpetual patient, and your immune system on demand, you just need to take your current, whatever, the next Pfizer rollout or whatever. And Ozempic, that's it. Kayla said Ozempic. Yeah. Oh, crazy. Wow. It's so crazy. And that's how, I don't know if it was the programming of the Jetsons cartoon when we were little, like how anybody ever thought that it would come down to like, oh yeah, you're just gonna pop these pills or whatever, and that's your meal, or it's
that's insane.
It is insane.
It's the sugar's the drug, and it puts everybody in a fog and a stupor that it seems to allow their minds to be susceptible to suggestion or something. It's just strange.
Sugary.
That's
modern day crack.
And it's just culturally and socially, I think on the keto cookout the other night, Russ was sharing, like, we ate when we were happy, we ate when we celebrated, we ate when we were sad, you eat at funerals. There is this social aspect to food, that some people really, really cling to. I mean, there's people like us and you, Adam, that's like, oh, cool. If we can eat eggs and beef, we're good. Like, let's call it,
Right.
But there's other people that are like, oh, well, I love to bake, and that's just my thing that I love to do. And, if I gave that up, I mean, sure, I'd be healthy, but what would I do with my life? If I couldn't bake cookies or something, they can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
And it's really,
it's a culturally baked in thing, no pun intended, maybe, but and they just it's all about it's a very emotional, well, we get together to bake the Christmas cookies and all this stuff, and there's all these positive emotions around all these things, and it's really just they don't realize it, but they're creating these positive emotions so that they get the next sugar hit. That's just my take on all that.
Right. Well, there's just, it's all tied to food, and then, but if you just try it for 30 days, what Dr. Berry says, 90 days, right? If you try it, you're not going to die. You might get healthy.
You might
feel better. Mentally, you might be a new person, which is way better than any type of weight loss or anything out there. And yeah, you don't know until you try it. This kind of deal.
Absolutely.
And Paul wanted to know, does this mean no fish or chicken?
Eat all the fish and chicken that you want, Paul.
And Paul, we're homesteaders and we used to raise meat birds. And I'm like, why bother when you can raise a cow? And I realize everybody can't raise a cow.
Exactly.
But man,
I agree.
The simplicity of raising a cow. And so, okay, here's another thing. When we started on Carnivore, we raise cows and pigs, and we still sell cows and pigs. And we were probably eating about 50-50. We were probably eating 50% beef, 50% pork, would you say, when we started?
Yeah. And we had a whole freezer full of chickens.
And we had a whole freezer full of chickens and ducks, right?
Yeah.
And but after going carnivore, we pretty much cut out the pork.
Yeah.
I'm just like, after a while, my taste changed, and I'm like, no, it's beef. Like, it's what's for dinner. It wasn't just a market.
Exactly. I'm right there with you. It's almost like even bacon. It's like in pork butt, smoked pork butt. It's almost like mush or something. I mean, I don't know. And chicken is like cardboard to me now.
Yes. Yeah. I'm exactly the same way with chicken and fish. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll eat a steak.
But if you enjoy it, eat it, eat it as a side. Eat your steak or eat, your beef, and then have some fish or some chicken. If that's what you enjoy, eat it. There's all kinds of creatures on this earth to eat. So
and listen to your body.
Add fat to it.
Yep.
Yes.
Those are very, very lean.
That's the problem with the chicken and the fish and these other lean meats, is just you're not going to get the fats.
Right.
And without the nutrient dense fats, you're not going to have the success. You're not going to
have it on the side. Have it as a side. Have your beef, and that's what I would say.
I wish there was a way that I could actually just eat the fat and not eat the meat. Like, just eat it out of a jar or something. Because I'm all about that. I don't want to spend as much any time on food preparation. So if I can just get fat in the jar and it didn't cause issues, my stomach, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, man, this has been great.
Yeah, it has
This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate Adam investing the time over here on our channel and letting us.
You guys for inviting us.
Grill you, and what I'll do is I'll forward you Texas Slim's scheduler, and maybe you could touch base with him, because I think it could be potentially, and that's up for you guys are doing the documentary, but at least reach out to Slim and maybe see if there's so much parallel and overlap. I think it would be like a good connection and might be something neat for the documentary.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. So the purpose of the initial documentary is a standalone documentary, right? To cover as many different topics as we can. Now, obviously, we can't go into a deep dive with each one of the subjects. So there's literally so much material that we want to essentially, possibly, if we can, as long as funding allows, use the initial documentary, the main documentary, as a hook for potentially a series. And the series down the road will cover each specific topic, like fertility and obesity and autoimmune. And ranchers would be definitely included in that series as well. So
very cool.
That's
Wow,
really cool.
that sounds very
Yeah.
encompassing.
It's really cool.
Mhm.
And I think the thing is that I'm trying to think of who it was that said it the other day, but this impact is, it just like branches out. Like you don't know who, like we don't know how many people we've impacted just by sharing like how we changed what we were eating, and it just has this trickle out effect. And it's like, there's all of these different people. You've said it before of just like, we are kind of like the test experiment. Like you have all of these people from all of these different walks of life, and we're all experiencing success on this diet, whether it's health or mental or, all of the different areas of life. And it's just really neat of, I don't know. It just seems like it's a snowball. Like it's just continuing. Like I didn't really see that in the plant-based. And I'm not picking on plant-based people because we were plant-based forever and ever.
I like to pick on him.
I watched all the plant-based channels.
I like Sean Baker.
I was big, but there wasn't this, it seemed like it was way more work, and it just there were people that were the stand-up, the healthy kind of plant-based people, that you would follow, but it's still just, it felt so forced, and we just didn't have the success on it. I mean, it was just like this overnight success that we just instantly started realizing,
It was actually the exact opposite, because prior to going more plant-based, I actually felt good and I exercised a lot. It was like my thing. And the more plant-based we went, the worse I felt. And it was just like, and that's when I said, hey, I got to have at least 2 pounds of meat a day. You know what I mean? And that's when we started adding it back in for me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I just do not feel good on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So that's one thing that solved carnivore solved for me. It was the mental disorder that I had when I was on the vegan diet, because literally I had to convince myself that I was feeling good, because this is what modern medicine and nutrition tells you is, you get all your vitamins and minerals from these plants, but that's not the full story. We don't have the ruminant gut to actually extract the nutrients that's in these plants. So, but I did win the bathroom contest. So vegans definitely win. They win that. Right?
Definitely won that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
we got the t-shirts.
Right. For sure. Yep.
So Adam, folks can find you at Carnivore Today. That's on YouTube.
Yep.
And then it is Carnivore the movie? Is that the other website?
CarnivoreDietMovie.com. Yep.
CarnivoreDietMovie.com. So if you want to stay up to date or support the documentary, you can go there, CarnivoreDietMovie.com.
Yep.
And
there's a newsletter there that people can sign up for, the weekly newsletter, to keep updated on the progress with that. If people feel compelled to donate, that would be great. But it's the newsletter is free, and you're definitely, just by signing up for that, you're helping to support our movement, and we definitely appreciate each and every one of everybody that has supported us so far, and is going to support us in the future. It's really great connecting with so many different people in all the different walks of life. I also want to give a shout out to Kerry. It's my brother from another mother. The guy is absolutely amazing. He has got great energy, and he's definitely going to see this project through to make certain that it reaches many millions of people in this world that are hopeless right now. And Todd, who you have up there right now, the Carnivore Cure, he was in a bad mental state, and this diet, saved him from feeling in the deep depths of despair. And everybody deserves this message. So yeah, we definitely would appreciate if you go there and just check it out and see what we're all about. And we'll hopefully see you around.
CarnivoreDietMovie.com. Patty wants to know,
Absolutely.
so
Go check it out.
dietmovie.com.
Yep.
All right. Thanks so much, Adam, for being here.
All right,
Thanks,
y'all.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and
Yes, sir.
we'll get back together again. Maybe we'll be on what's the keto cookout thing?
The Keto Cookout.
The keto
Yep.
cookout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
You like
grilling,
cookout?
baby.
We grill it, baby.
We
I
grilling,
love
baby.
it. You got it right. Russ is going to love you forever. You might get a Christmas card.
I've seen people get it wrong, so I've been practicing.
I love it.
All right, Adam. We appreciate you, man.
All right.
Have an awesome night. We'll
Thanks.
talk
See
to
ya.
you soon.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all.